He is on vacation.
He's on vacation. Isn't he like on vacation like last week?
His wife was.
Oh, I thought he went to Rome.
No, his wife did. But now they are talking about it right
Okay, so we're ready to
now.
go?
They're around town.
Oh.
Yeah, like 1 minute.
You want me to go ahead and go? Start?
No, we'll
We'll
wait.
We'll wait it out.
Yeah.
Okay. 4 o'clock. We're gonna call this meeting to order. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the agenda and minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Have a motion for the approval of the agenda for Wednesday, July the 10th.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Say nay. Has everyone read the minutes? Opportunity to read the minutes? Looks good.
Yes.
I stand for a motion of the minutes for April 2nd.
I'll give it.
I have a motion
And I'll second that.
and I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on to public comment. We have no one here? Do we? And then we want to move on to non-action items, Parks and Recreation Facility update. James?
Sure. I'll just run through kind of what we have. Starting with the swimming pool. We finally got our shade structure for the pump room there. So George was telling me earlier it's installed. We do have an issue with some of our plaster coming up in the swimming pool. So we've got to look at getting that repaired again. It's just an older pool. It starts to happen. I know it was 3 years ago that we wound up getting the whole thing replastered, but it's just wear and tear. So if you go out there, that's why they've got areas roped off so you don't stub your toe on it. But we're not losing water. Everything else is running fine. The slide's starting to show its age and going to have to replace some parts at the end of the season. Chaparral Park, we do have some areas I know George was working on. As far as the sprinkler system, we probably have a couple of broken ground wires. We also, which some sprinkler heads don't work because they get plugged up with debris. We're eventually going to have to find the funding to dredge the lake, because that's where you get your water for your irrigation system. So it's sucking up everything up off the bottom. Let's see what else. The amphitheater, I don't know if you went out there on the 4th, but if you notice it doesn't have a roof anymore. It's because it's rotten. We went out there about 2 weeks before 4th of July and looked at it because the winds had taken its toll on a lot of those older wooden structures. So we made the decision to go ahead and remove the roof. We did put up a sun sail as a temporary means, and I haven't had a chance to visit with George on this, but we're actually going to wind up putting a bigger one out there because frankly the posts and the way it was designed, it's a weird shape. It's too low, but we think we can actually get some, until we get the funding to build a new amphitheater, which is in the plan, we'll actually be able to get a bigger sun sail and mount it with telephone poles. So it will cover the entire structure, still make it usable. It'll look fairly decent. So that was a temporary fix, because we frankly just didn't have enough time between then and party in the park last Thursday to get it fixed. Let's see. Avenue D Park, they've got some signs on there where they're out of order. It's because of vandalism. Both of the toilets don't work. George has a plumber who's working on that problem, so hopefully we'll have those fixed, and we're going to be making some changes to the locks on those. Softball fields, grass is coming in beautifully. We did have a little bit of a delay because of the weird weather that we had right after planting. Like George was saying, it's just not getting hot enough or staying warm enough for the seed to germinate. So it did delay the softball season, but it did come in. It's looking great. Still a little bit of work out there. There are no power issues out there. I know last year we had an issue where we were receiving complaints, well, the lights in the restrooms don't work, and to be honest, it was a very simple fix. In the concession stand, there was a switch that controls that. I guess when they put stuff up there, it would hit the switch and deactivate it. Had a very similar issue this year with power, but everything's running fine out there. There's a couple of little other improvements that we want to do out there for that, but it's in pretty good shape. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I'll discuss that one here in a minute. Over at the library, if you haven't gone to where the employees park on the north side of the building, or used to park, that is a new park. It's a parklet. It's really nice. Go by, see it during the day. We've got grass back there. We've got a crushed gravel area. Yeah, we've got a nice, I think it's a 20 by 30 pergola that we put up back there, and it's lit, and then go back at night and look at it. It's really nice at night. It's not 100% complete. We have some furniture to put back there. We also need to replace some stones. And then the mural, they've actually started working on that mural. So both sides of that will be painted into a mural too. And then the next park is working on the old Fran Ashley parklet. That's actually going to be kind of a cool project too. One of the planners basically is going away. It's going to be replaced with a water feature, fountain type deal. So modernize it with lighting. It'll look really nice. And that's actually that one's not really costing the city funds at this point. The library one did. We had a lot of matching funds, but Main Street has been working on Fran Ashley getting funding for that one. So,
Are they gonna replace the sign at any point?
are you talking about?
The
Are you talking
Fran
about that
Ashley
Fran?
sign that's
It has
gone?
been.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone
But
now?
there's no
Yes.
sign there.
There, yeah, that sign was removed a couple weeks ago.
Okay, the last time I was
Yeah.
by there, I guess when they did the thing downtown, it was there, that's when I
Yeah,
noticed it was.
the bronze plaque is still there, but the wooden sign, it was fixing to fall over, and I think it did fall over on its own.
Are you gonna incorporate that bronze plaque into the new?
Yes, that bronze plaque will stay in the park. If it will stay in the original location, I don't know. It may be moved somewhere to where it's a little bit more prominent since it was a dedication. But yeah, I don't have the exact layout. If you want to see a mock-up of what the fountain is going to look at, check with Mara over at Main Street. It's actually pretty cool. And I guess you would call him the sculptor is out of Hobbs. So, let's see. The Veterans Memorial Project, we actually opened up the RFP on August 1st for the design. We don't quite own all of the property over there. We have contracts on everything, but I think we're about 60% done with that acquisition. The other properties are held up, going through title work and quiet title suits and stuff like that. But we have all of that property. We'll probably do some type of a kickoff semi-official groundbreaking thing when we do the demolition for the entire block. But planning and design is probably going to take 12 to 18 months to do it right. And we'll definitely bring it to this body once we select the design firm. It's kind of coordinating between the city and the county on the project to get everything put together. So the only other things that I've got, just some discussion items. We don't have any action items yet, but number one is Martin Luther King Park. Located over there off of its Air and like Roosevelt, just to the north of the fairgrounds and east of Commercial. It's actually one of our nicest neighborhood parks. It really is if you look at it. It's got great turf. It's the only neighborhood park that has volleyball courts and its own basketball courts. Plus it's got a playground structure. It's also got the shade trees. And it's the only neighborhood park that actually has a restroom, which is the issue. That restroom it's not ADA accessible. It's very, very old and antiquated. vandalism. And to be honest, and this would be something that we would discuss with the residents of the neighborhood, but it's my opinion that it's reached the end of its life, and it's becoming more of a hazard and a maintenance liability, and it's one of those situations where I think we need to take it down. I can tell you we do not have the funding to replace that restroom, and it's kind of it's been a policy, I guess you would say, that in neighborhood parks we don't install new restrooms. But that's just something that we'll probably bring up for an action item when we come up with some plans. And I'll bring you costs of new restrooms, but we have other priorities that we need to address in our other areas. But just to kind of think about it, we even thought, one of our city commissioners said, well, could we use it as a storage site? And really the building is just so old, it's in very, very bad shape. And it's not due to lack of maintenance, it's just due to its age.
Are people using it at all? Do people use it still?
Some of them do. Some do, some don't. Some say I would rather have a porta potty out there.
Okay.
Because frankly, it's small, it's dark, go out and take a look at it. It's okay.
The plumbing is pretty bad too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
getting worse. So they had an issue where the vent pipe was leaking, and we never had that problem. So it's just one stuff adding up.
And it's not an issue of being able to go in and replace it. It's just aged to the point to where the bones aren't really even good anymore. There's
On the fishing area, what about those restrooms? They're nasty.
over on, those
Yeah.
those are supposed to come down.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Those are still open.
Yeah.
Chaparral Park.
Chaparral Park, the fishing area,
Yeah,
That's
I didn't even
another.
know they were still
That's
open.
actually on my list as well, to remind everybody we're going to take that one down. But that one does need to be replaced. But we don't have budgeted funds for a replacement of that one because it's an awfully long ways around the park if you're on the east side of the lake to use the restroom. But we do need a restroom facility over there, and we were looking at actually moving it further away from the intersection and towards the north on our planning document. But yeah, that one is another one that needs to come down.
If it were to come down, what kind of timeline are you?
Not this budget year.
You're just gonna close them, that's it?
Close them and demolish them. You'll have nothing, you may have a concrete slab left.
But you will open it up to public comment at some point? Yeah, I mean, do you anticipate that?
I'm viewing it as a safety issue.
Right.
So, but, you know, we do, I know we didn't budget anything to replace the restrooms this year, because of the other large projects that we've got going on, but, we still have another restroom to demolish as well and replace, and that's the Commercial Street baseball field. That's actually up, I guess, in the batting order.
Higher priority?
Yeah, that one was the next restroom to replace, and then the one on Chaparral Park was number 4. So, and it's very expensive to build a restroom.
Well, it makes
But you
sense if
gotta
we're
have
paying
them.
them out for the other city, park, I mean, the neighborhood parks, because basically that's the idea, that it's a neighborhood,
Right.
your home is barely within this.
Well, and I know that neighborhood, matter of fact, they just had a big, they call it homecoming, last weekend. I mean, and they have a ton of people out there several times a year. And it's just a big celebration that they have. And that could be something that, you know, either they can bring out porta potties, or if we have plenty of advance notice and we budget for it, we could actually help provide some restrooms for those larger events. But, yeah, it's just, we're dealing with like every other community in the nation, we're dealing with an aging infrastructure. So, and it's getting older, but the funds aren't growing.
And if it's not in this budget, are you planning for like next budget? Or?
It would be nice, but really it's a little too early to say that. I don't want to commit something and then us not be able to do it. 'Cause like I said, the Commercial Street, we were really hoping to do it this year, but we didn't get the funding that we were expecting. So that's still the priority, is to get that place, the other baseball complex done first. Unless this board when we come back, if this board wants to change the priority, we could always look at that. Reprioritize some of our outstanding projects that we set, back in 2015, I think it was.
Yeah.
And we can do that. We can update that plan. It's about time. So moving on, another project I was approached about by one person was a BMX track. I have a local gentleman who, since a kid, he's rode BMX tracks, and I don't know if you've ever seen one, but it's basically hills, jumps, you can race around on it. When I was growing up in Roswell, they had one right by the Wool Bowl. It was a lot of fun. As I explained to the gentleman, that is something that would have to go through this board, through the city commission. I really haven't checked into the insurance liability yet because I don't know y'all's feelings on it. But I think that they would probably view it very similar to the insurance coverages that we have on our skate park, or even allowing boating. We're not supplying the equipment, we're supplying the venue. However, it would take some, because it is the state of New Mexico, it would take engineering, a lot of dirt work, and then it comes down to a location. There's really only two feasible locations that we have. One would be by the swimming pool on the east side of the lake. However, that is the site for the proposed dog park that was in that planning the plan that we have. But I'm also concerned about access for kids, because they either have to go down Industrial, which is not good, or down Avenue K. It's just a really long ways out there for somebody on a bicycle. The only other site or space that we would have available would be over there on the property behind Lovington Inn, but I don't know if it would fit on there, because that's supposed to be our soccer and football complex that we would want to build. But to be completely honest, we don't really have a good location. So once again, when we revisit that, the plan for improvements to Chaparral Park, another consideration to think, that. But like I said, I've only had one person. And he has people asking him all the time, where'd you learn to ride and everything like that. So there might be an interest there. But to be honest, even on those open-ended questions that we asked on that survey, that never came up. So.
Yeah, we just came back from Tucson, and they had a huge similar recreation.
Mm-hmm.
What you talked about, they call it the 100-acre, wood bike park. So I'm sure it's 100 acres. But I thought about it as I was passing by. That would be a neat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there weren't a lot of frills on that. It's a lot of, not as much maintenance, I presume.
Right. It's just
pretty much open land.
Right, it's open land with hills,
Couple of
mounds
hills
of
put in.
dirt. And
Which would be neat if you had kids that were spending more time on bicycles
Right.
too, and that's the thing that you don't see near as much in neighborhoods driving around. I mean, I'm a teacher, and I very rarely hear kids talk about riding bikes.
True.
I mean,
But on
that's
the
not-
counterpoint to that, I think, and I have similar, my kids want to ride bikes all the time, but even in my neighborhood where the traffic can be slower at times, there's some really scary moments, and so I actually will hold them back from riding their bikes, or I'll say you have to go down this. So I think that it may not be due to lack of interest, but potentially safety. So if you had a park, it
The
could be
bike,
safety.
the bike and the BMXing, that's like a total dirt bike area. That's especially like riding bikes around town, you do see, but the BMX part of it, you're not.
mm-hmm.
I mean, we hear kids talk about skateboarding, they talk about the skate park, they talk about doing that stuff, but very few have I ever heard.
You never
Right,
see
they
them.
They haven't
Not
been
still talking about
exposed.
that.
Yeah.
And that might be,
Nice
it's just
exposure.
kids don't ride. I mean, I run on the streets and
Yeah.
haven't been, well, I almost got hit the
Just
other
to
day.
add on that,
Dogs.
on the skate park portion of it, I was a part of that back in 2008. And what we did there was we put together a committee to see who is interested, and we let the kids design the skate park. And then just to even see if there is even enough, it's not just coming from one person, to see if people show up to, and if it's really an interest. I mean, I think that it was an interest back then, but it's not an interest anymore. So, I mean, that was an era that everybody was into
It's a
the
good
skate
point,
park,
too.
and it faded away, and now we have a skate park that no one uses.
Very rarely.
And I agree there, because I had the group of kids that came through middle school that were all apart, and they were so excited that the city was doing something that was to their interests, I mean, I did remember,
Yeah, it was in
Remember.
2008.
When I
And
went
it
back
was
to
like a
teaching.
year-long process, and then by the time we got quotes back, we let them kind of design what parts they wanted on the skate park. But like I said, all those guys now are like, they've already out of college.
Yeah.
That's already faded, no one's using skateboards anymore, so I mean, now it's just sitting there. So I definitely don't wanna do that again, and then it sits there, another piece of property with,
Well, the one in
Nothing on it.
Roswell doesn't exist anymore.
Mhm.
It's, you can't even tell that there was one there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I mean, it's something to maybe, like, because my plan is at our next meeting, which would be in September, to go back through and look at, okay, this is what we've done, these are still pending projects, either reaffirm the priorities or reorganize it, and see if there's any other additional needs, because,
There was a vendor that called me a couple months ago from Indiana, and they install what's called pump tracks, and it's kind of similar to a BMX track, but it's made out of asphalt, and yeah, all ages can use it. You know, small kids, older kids. It has ramps. It's a loop or two loops, and that's kind of what's one of the popular things that's going on right now. He sent me a website, and he sent me some of the pictures of the designs that they have, and they look pretty cool. Honestly, they look cool.
How were the prices?
The design cost was like around 7,000, but the actual pump track itself, we're looking about 200.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of envisioned too. I think that Tucson Park, it wasn't just BMX, so you could see little kids going around, and it looked like they had a concrete path that they could go on as well as the off-roading one, which I know that adds up cost. So maybe it is something more like a multi-use rather than a
Yeah.
niche,
Yeah.
not
And
a
that's
niche
kind of
thing.
what he reiterated about it being, usable for all kinds of kids. I mean, there's a video, and there's small kids with those.
The little.
Well, yeah, one where they just push themselves with their legs, and they're
Oh,
going
yeah,
up
yeah,
these
the new
hills,
ones.
so, yeah. And then you have these older kids ramping off these small ramps,
Exactly.
but it was really cool. And then so I asked them, how hard is the asphalt? It's like, and he goes, well, it's not a whole lot different between dirt and asphalt, because the dirt on the BMX track is going to be packed dirt.
That's true.
So,
So it's pretty hard.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth a look at it, at least, like I said, with an
Right.
interest, but it'll probably come down to cost, of course.
Right.
But bottom line.
yeah. Only other thing I had was, and I don't know if there's just been an uptick, but we've got several, or I know one bass fishing club that's really starting to grow in popularity. One of the members reached out and wanted to know if what we could do to potentially look at doing a catch and release program out there at Chaparral. I don't know how many people actually put them back. I don't know where that lays since the state stocks it, if we can do that. But that's something that I don't know if we would have to do by ordinance, how we would enforce it. There's a lot. I told them I would talk to you guys, see kind of what your feelings were. I mean, the nice thing is, they even said, well, even if we put signs up out there, just say, please catch and release any bass. Because as you know, if you throw it back and it survives, it grows and grows, and then you wind up catching a monster larger than your daughter. So, I don't know, what are y'all's feelings on that?
I think the more things we can do to get people to our parks, even if it's different audiences, and if there's a low cost in particular to us for the city, if the state could do it more, I'm always for that.
but it wouldn't be a requirement, right? I mean, it would be just a personal.
It depends. So if we just went out there and put signage saying catch and release for bass, okay? It's just, honestly, it's just a sign, and it's kind of, I guess you would say, the honor system, because even if somebody says that, well, George is out there and he just pulled 5 bass out and just ate them right in front of me, there's nothing behind it that says, well, you're wrong, other than, the common decency and stuff. I don't know if we can actually pass an ordinance to where, there's a penalty assessed with that if you don't do a catch and release. I know there's some people out there who like to eat them.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I don't know if that's something that's truly under the state's control. All I know is it's very fresh water out there. It gets replaced all the time. So, and you know, yeah, sign is low cost, honor system, catch and release, and
Is there any other communities that are doing that?
not around here that I'm aware of. Well, I know like over in Texas, what is it? The lake over outside of,
Buffalo.
no, not in Buffalo Springs. It's Allen Henry, Brantley. Well, those are catch and release, but that's because of contamination. You
Yeah.
don't want to eat those fish. So, you know, we don't have that problem in our park, but I don't know, I really haven't looked to see other than do we just want to put up signs and try that. They're just trying to grow the sport, I guess, because apparently it's, and if you've seen some of the pictures, is it Lee County
They
bass
do fishing.
or fishing?
Mhm.
They're pulling some pretty decent sized ones, and it's not an optical illusion either.
They're
It's-
doing it every day. I mean, there's people Tuesday, Monday, it doesn't matter what
Mhm.
time. I mean, there's people
You know,
there all the time.
You know, and a matter of fact, July 4th, we had our fishing tournament. Well, granted, they stocked the lake for us, I think, on the 2nd, but we had 135 participants,
Wow.
paid participants out
That's
there for that.
awesome.
So, yeah, and that's part of the efforts because of the fishing and the fishing group and stuff like that, but they're really just, part of it is, yeah, just catch and release, and that was the rule. Bring over, show us the fish, put it back. So,
What is it mainly stocked with out there? Is it
a
just
lot of
Catfish.
catfish.
I was gonna say, it's probably catfish.
catfish? And
So
then
there's,
In the summertime,
So
they
the
do-
odds of catching a bass are smaller than catching the catfish or?
Trout.
Yeah,
Trout.
because they'll stock the catfish in the summertime, and in the wintertime, when it gets colder, they stock it with trout.
yeah. You know, and we even looked at, like last year, we were going to, because the state stocked our lake, I want to say the week before July 4th, and even the guy was like, this is going to be fished out by then. So we actually looked at buying fish and putting them out there. But that fell through because the company never bothered. I'm glad we didn't pay them because they never
Is it
called us
expensive?
back.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. There's another company that this group referred me to, but what I like is that they will come in and they will assess your lake and let you know, well, this is how many fish we think, because, and that's, if it's a new lake, you can figure it out. But if it's already got an existing population, that's a little bit different. So this company will actually come out and they'll help you plan your management. And it's cheaper. I want to say that for some of the same quantities, and it was about 800 different fish, or a total of 800 fish. It was about $1,200 or $1,300 to do that. But these aren't full grown. I mean, you got to let them grow. So it's really not that bad, but apparently we've got a pretty healthy population out there, but a lot of it is just, it's education by the fishermen. I haven't caught it. Well, I've only caught one fish out there my entire life, so. Yeah. Took my kayak out there the other day, and my buddy had never been in his kayak before, and he caught 2 fish, and I didn't catch anything. I was mad.
Would the city be able to front that cost if we decided?
We could. I mean, yeah, it would just fall under a supply line item. I mean, that's relative, because what are they, the state stocks it, what, 3 times a year?
And they do about once a month.
Now?
Really?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, money's pretty much flush right now at the state level too, so.
Because when I uploaded that video, they had stocked it the week before. So that was 2 times in a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
So-
sure it's more during the wintertime. I'm sure it's more, right?
They're stocking more?
Uh-huh.
No, I think it's
It's the
the
same.
same, stays the same.
People fish when it's cold.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. It's a big thing
It
fishing.
doesn't get that
They
cold.
like to.
You just don't fish when it's hot like this right now.
Right.
Well, normally people do it like at night, don't they?
Yeah, they'll stay there till midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning.
Fishing's fun. It's relaxing.
Yeah, and I'm all for something like that because you tend to see a lot of families out doing it too. And I again, it's more people in your parks, and I think when you have even the folks that are fishing, I think it makes it more comfortable for other people to be out doing other things there too that aren't interested. So it doesn't hurt to have your numbers up on my book.
A thought that crossed my mind when we were talking about dredging the lake, and we had that cardboard boat race. You know, that was really cool, and this came to mind because Jaylene called me saying that somebody called her asking if they could go in swimming. You know, like why not have that north part of the lake, that smaller part as swimming? Yeah.
Yeah, if
And
it's,
then the rest forest fishing.
I know, I always wondered how the water was too, James.
I mean, it's well water.
James like liability.
I mean, I'm swimming right now. But,
If you went kayaking, how would you feel if you fell in it? You know,
It's like water. It really, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
every,
like water.
you know, to be honest, when we went through that, you'd say, yeah, we want to allow, you know, non-powered boating out there. Ew, what if you fall in? It's like water.
It's true.
that's what,
You drink the water that goes in there. Now, granted, things live in that lake, but no, that water, it's just like water. And I went out there and on the east side, I don't know about on the west side of the island, but on the east side, it's only 6 or 7 foot deep in the center. And so it needs to be dredged, but when I say dredge, we're talking about where the pumps are, where we suck that up because it's not. We did all that cattail removal, and that's one of the advantages to dredging that too, is if we make that deeper, it's gonna help prevent a lot of those cattails from coming back. I don't know about swimming because I don't know what the regulations are as far as lifeguards.
Yeah.
That's my only hesitation.
That was just a thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a potential use. I don't know how many people would take advantage of it. I don't know if we need
I wouldn't do it now,
lifeguards.
but because I told Jaylene I wouldn't recommend it because there's hooks and stuff. That
Yeah,
don't
there's all,
fall.
and that's my thing is that those
What's underneath?
other areas are, yeah, we don't really know what's other than dirt and
Yeah, dead body.
vegetate.
It's true.
so the non-motorized stuff, can you
Uh-huh.
do paddleboarding out there? Is that
Yeah.
something that's allowed out
Yeah, it just has to be human powered. So, yeah, you could do a paddle boat if you want.
there? Not paddleboard,
Oh, yeah, paddle boat, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're just not supposed to swim.
So don't fall.
But, yeah, just don't fall in. No, I mean, that's
I just didn't know, I mean,
understandable. Yeah,
I
no.
love paddleboarding,
Yeah.
and I know that's a big thing, like, but no, I know right now, I would literally have to go to Rio Doce, that's the closest area I can go paddleboarding, but.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't know
you
that
can
was
do it
something
out
we
there, you
could
just
do.
can't put a motor on it, which we gotta figure that out because like George said, Party in the Park, they did a new event that I think is really gonna grow in popularity, but it was a cardboard boat race where they started at like 1 o'clock, they had 2 hours to take cardboard and duct tape and some Flex Seal and build a cardboard boat that you actually paddle across. And I thought we had 11 participants, and I had to leave, but I know we had 2 people who made it entirely all the way across.
Wow.
They didn't do, it wasn't a race, you were timed, but that was just due to new event, we only had access to 1 boat. But I know I talked with George, I said, well, we need to get us a John boat, but I found a cheaper alternative, and we would be able to make an exception for our staff to actually just use an electric trolling motor to get around, but I need to get with you. But that was a great race, it was cool.
Yeah, it was fun. That was cool.
So,
Heard good things about it.
And
I think-
could you use competitions, like with the fishing competition you all did, to help stock the lake through the funds you raise therein?
well, like Party in the Park, they, that is run by the chamber, and I don't think there was an entry fee.
It's usually everything out there used to be for free.
Yeah, I think it still is free,
Lico.
it still is free.
Lico was the one that had it there, I don't know, was it
Sponsored
this
it?
year? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what, back when I was at the chamber doing that, that's what we did, is we would seek sponsors to
Yeah.
sponsor an
And we
event,
do
to
that.
get their
And they're
name
still
out
doing
there and all of that, and that was just to help. To still show that community involvement in the events out there to help grow them. But there was nothing, I don't think you paid.
Yeah, I don't think they
for
did.
anything.
I think
Everything
that was
free.
the same thing. So, I mean, it just raises awareness is the main thing, but yeah, I don't believe in charging for stuff like that. I mean, it's not really worth it. I'd rather find, if it's an issue, hey, you want to sponsor this,
Yeah,
have somebody else
exactly.
do. I am not a fundraiser like that. I do not like raising funds or asking for donations, so the city takes enough as it is. That is all I've got. I'll explore the whole catch and release program and bring it back in September and see what we're allowed to do and if it's even worth it. But my main thing is, even if they say, yes, you can prohibit that, who's gonna enforce it? Because like everybody did, somebody just said, they're out there till, well, you said, midnight, 1 o'clock. I'm not gonna pay somebody to sit out there and catch people doing that. I mean, I think just mainly. Even if it's just simple, education and just using the resource that we have with that fishing group to just educate people. Say, look, this is the advantages. And I don't
And the
know.
more education you get out there, the more chance you do have the
Mhm.
option of catch and release and people getting to see that. And that would be kind of cool too, because you could pull that partnership into the school system and, have that group come in and talk to your kids and
That's right.
then them take it home as well, the importance of it.
And I think on that BMX still, I think if you would relay the message to them and say, if you guys are really interested, I think you should come to see how many people really are interested. To see
Yeah.
if we should move forward or not.
I've seen people on the skate track with bikes.
Really?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were seeing that too.
yeah.
Is there anything on the skate park that we can accommodate, like change?
No, okay, so the pump track that he was talking about is a different style of biking than BMX. BMX is just pedaling and racing. I mean, it's almost like dirt track racing on a powered bike. Pump tracks, the goal of a pump track is to basically get around the track without pedaling. It's from like swaying and up and down motions on the bike.
Well, there's a lot in this area, and I know this because I own one myself, is if you were to open it up to BMX, why wouldn't you open it up to let BMX certain times and then let ATVs?
Yeah,
If we have, everybody in this town owns an ATV.
I know. And once again, I don't know about the liability on that.
Yeah.
And then we have the whole issue of how are they gonna get it out there? I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And I think more goes into that, just kind of looking at it, more goes into a track where you use motorized equipment than BMX. I think the BMX track that, I was young, it was a long time ago. But
Back in
honestly,
my
it
son
was maybe, it took up an area maybe 3,000 or 4,000 square feet.
even if you were
About
to
the
do
size
like a
of
track.
a good sized 4-bedroom house. So that's how big it was. And you just went around in circles, but we're talking pretty decent hills and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, that is an option, but when you throw powered equipment in, that automatically sets up, some red flags for
Right.
me.
Yeah. I know that they have a track in Andrews. In
Mhm.
Andrews, they have a track, and on the weekends, it is full. And they charge like $15, but it's per truck. So like everyone has their trucks loaded in with, didn't matter how many ATVs you had, but it was per truck coming in. And we've gone out there, and it's just probably about 5 acres, and it's just a track. It's just a track. I mean, and it's
It's
full.
packed to
It's
the
full.
And
Yeah.
as we go to the sand hills, my concern would be is that you have too many people that, ride around with their babies in their lap, and you're just opening yourself up to more
Yeah.
risk of accidents, because people don't always make the smartest
Right.
choices when it comes to motorized.
Yeah. But I know a lot of people in this area
Oh,
have
yeah.
razors and
Mhm.
ATVs and.
Do you guys have anything to?
We're spraying for mosquitoes. Also, we got 2 trucks from the wastewater and water department, so we mounted the sprayers on those trucks instead of having them on small trailers, which is more efficient. So weather permitting, we'll be spraying for mosquitoes.
Are you still catching gophers?
Yes, they're starting to come back out, so we need to start trapping again. But it was actually kind of nice not to see so many dirt mounds from the gophers.
Yeah, there was, you can definitely go out there and tell.
Yeah.
It's noticeable. Of course, I saw one, he tried to steal my wallet on 4th of July.
Yeah.
He's feisty. Like the gopher on Caddyshack.
There's a prairie dog out there that we can't touch. We call him Timon, so
That was probably him.
it's probably.
Timon.
Why?
I think it's state rules, right, or law. We can they're protected. Prairie dogs are. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
there,
a-
I
there
think
is
it's
a-
is it the black-tailed
Yeah,
prairie dog or
sometimes.
something? Yeah. They're like, yeah.
It's just that one,
Just hope his partner doesn't ever arrive,
right?
because then it
Yeah.
won't be one.
Cause then you have to settle down for mating season.
right.
Yeah, we've all, I honestly haven't seen him in a couple months, but he's over there by the water tanks, and you'll just occasionally see him. That's, yeah.
I did have, I have not checked not this out, but it was just from one of my daughter that ended up going to the Chaparral Park on, she was saying that the zip line was really low. It's not as fun anymore because you have to keep your legs way up and because
That was broken. By the end of the night, it was broken.
I know, and that, this was
Yeah.
back in, I think this was before the 4th of July, because I want to say it was at the middle of June, and I just kept saying, I'll bring it up, and I kept forgetting to
Yeah, it
email
broke
you
and we
guys.
had it replaced.
So it's completely replaced.
July 3rd, the day before July 4th, so.
I know, and I told her that's gonna be the kind of thing that's gonna go out a lot on.
And you guys have
Yeah.
replaced it like who knows how many
Yeah.
times,
I-
right?
Yeah.
So I just went ahead and bought a long roll of the wire instead of buying it every time it goes out, so that way we'll have.
You can just
cable,
replace it.
Yeah.
That's smart.
It was,
Thank
yeah.
you.
It was
They do
James.
love it though, but I know it's gonna be the one you're gonna move it. Did you
It
get
was
on it?
Mike, it was Mike.
Mike did, has
Yeah,
gone on it.
Mike and I both did it, so we know
He
the
has gone on
limitations
it.
of it. We weren't together, because that would have been awkward.
Well, I don't know. I do see that as a possibility.
Yeah.
That is a possibility, yes.
Yeah, very cool.
Anybody else have any more questions or concerns? No? No? All right, well, we will adjourn this meeting.